third question comes from a parishioner in Naas, and it's another really good question. And it's a question that comes from reading the Bible and hearing again and again this phrase about living in the fear of the Lord. What does that mean, living in the fear of the Lord? Are we dealing with God who is a cross schoolmaster for my day, or a cross boss who's kind of, and you live in fear of him? Or what's this got to do with us? What's this fear of the Lord thing all about? Well, let's have a little look at this. What's fear, for starters? Well, we regard fear as being that sort of emotional, real difficulty because something is putting us in danger. Okay? But that's not exactly what fear is in the Old Testament. It does take an aspect of that. It takes the aspect of that which makes us hyper attentive to something. And it takes that aspect and it says that kind of hypertension that you get when you're frightened. That's what we were talking about when we're talking about fear of the Lord. Okay? That's what we're talking about when we're talking about fear of the Lord. That sort of aspect of a hyperattention to what we're doing. Okay? So just like when somebody you're really, really frightened of something, you're terribly attentive to all sorts of things around you. Without talking about the actual, the physical and the emotional difficulty in fear, that hypertension is actually something that's quite important. And that's what this fear of the Lord actually means. Now, I think the best place to understand this is actually in Psalm 2 and how Psalm 2 ends. And let's have a little read of that, okay? Because Psalm 2 situates that idea of fear of the Lord into a much broader aspect. Let's have a little read at the end of Psalm 2. Now therefore, O kings, be wise. Be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, with trembling. Kiss his feet, or he will be angry, and you will perish in the way. For his wrath is quickly kindled. Happy are all who take refuge in him. First reading, that sounds a little bit like, be very careful. Be very careful, or he will get cross with you and you will be the worse off for it. Okay? But let's have a little look at that. There are two things in that I'd like you to notice. Okay? First thing, what is the very first phrase? It says, serve the Lord in wisdom. Now, wisdom is not just our idea of wisdom in terms of somebody who's quite clever about things. Wisdom is that sense of balance, freedom, and beauty that is at the heart of creation. Okay? Wisdom for the old world, in the world of the Bible, is called chokhmah. Okay? And you'll find that wisdom is described as being almost like a really good friend, or a beautiful woman, or somebody who sits and gives you very powerful counsel and advice. Wisdom is not just a notion out there. It is something that is very real for people. It's something that's an everyday reality for people, and it's built on balance, beauty, and a certain sense of wholesomeness. Now, that type of wisdom is part of what fear of the Lord is. Be attentive. Be really powerfully attentive to the world around you, because that's part of what wisdom actually is. And if you don't live with that attentiveness, you could end up being, as it says there, you could end up being lost in the way. Now that's actually important, because in Psalm 1, okay, we're told what being lost in the way actually means. Being lost in the way is like chaff that is just blown away. If something is, and that's one of the most consoling images in Psalm 1, the mistakes that we make will eventually just be blown away. There'll be nothing. There'll be no memory of them. There'll be nothing at all of them. The mistakes that we make will eventually just go away because they can't bring anything good about. And that's what it says here. Anything that you do, anything that you do kind of stupidly and half-heartedly and very much from your own ego, that'll just go. But the last line is the most important one. It says, happy will they be who walk in the freedom and the wisdom of God. They will be happy. This sense of fear of the Lord, this hyper-attentiveness, this sense of sensitivity and care is actually something that will bring us happiness. We don't normally think that fear, in the language that we use now, would bring us happiness. But this is a different type of fear. It's, as I say, it's kind of that hyper-attentiveness, that real strength of attentiveness. And if you can live with that attention to the balance and beauty and to the wonder of all around you, then that will lead you into a real attentiveness. So thanks, Nace Parishioner, for that. Hope all is good over in Nace. And we'll move on to our fourth question.